Hello, and welcome back to the Leading Yourself podcast. I can't believe we're halfway through the month of January. We have a long weekend here, so I got my comfy sweater and my comfy pants, a cup of coffee on my hand, and I'm ready to dive deep with you today into the cornerstone of a stellar year, our habits. I believe our habits are that foundation that we need to spend time investing in solidifying so it can help us ride the momentum and have a successful year ahead. And that's what we're talking about today here on the podcast. Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, health and fitness coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves. Those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode. Okay, I hope you are ready because today we are talking about one of my favorite things, which is habits. Habits are like the unsung heroes of our lives. They quietly shape our days, and when done right, they become the secret sauce for success. So, today we're spilling the beans on habits, how to figure out the good, the bad, and the transformational habits that we need to have a successful year ahead. So let's start first things first. How do we even know which habits are worth adopting? I think this is a key question to ask ourselves. And I think that it's like choosing the ingredients for a perfect recipe. I want to invite you to take a moment to reflect on your goals for 2024. Hopefully, by now, you have write down those goals that you have for this year, those things that you want to accomplish this year, or at least you have an idea of what those could look like. Let me ask you this. What are you aiming for in 2024? What are the things that you want to accomplish, that you want to achieve? How do you want to feel this year? What kind of energy do you want to have this year? How do you want to show up this year in the world, at work, with your family, with your friends, with the people that matter most to you? I think this is the starting point, right? That clarity that we talked about in the previous episode and that we talked throughout the little challenge we did at the end of last year. So I'm hoping that by now you have some level of clarity around those things. And what we are going to do today is we're going to come up with the recipe on how to achieve those goals. And that is about choosing the right ingredients, which are the right habits that are going to support us in achieving those goals. I believe habits are like that foundation that we need to lay, right? When you're starting to build a house, you start by laying a foundation. And I don't know if you have drive by a construction. I know near where we live, there was this beautiful house that it took years for them to build. And every time we will drive by, I was curious about the progress of the construction. And at the beginning, the first few months, it seems like they were moving so slow and like nothing was happening, right? Every time we drove by, it was like there was no progress made. Yet there was a lot of progress being made. The foundation was being let down, right? And I think, if if you have had that experience of either building your own house or driving by a construction site, you have noticed that. That is the part of the construction that takes the longest, where you don't see progress, but actually a lot of progress is being made. And if you don't lay the proper foundation, you can't build a solid house, right? Your house will crumble into pieces if you don't have a sound foundation. So habits are like that foundation. And when we know what we have a vision of how that house is going to look like, or what recipe we're cooking, like what meal we are cooking, then we can choose what ingredients we want for that recipe and we can put the recipe together. And I think habits are the ingredients for a successful year ahead, for us to actually accomplishing our goals, showing up the way we want to show up, and bringing the energy that we want to have in this year. Last Friday I hosted a session, and maybe you were one of the people who attended it, but it was called New Year, New Energy. In the past, I have heard a lot the phrase New Year, New You. And for many years, I believe on that statement. And every January 1st, I started to think about how I was going to be a different person this year. And there is some truth to that, and there is some value to that. But I think more than New Year, New You is New Year, better you, New Year, better energy. And when you think about how can you show up this year as a better version of yourself and achieve your goals, it all goes down to the same foundation, our habits. So that's why for me, that is the theme personally of the month of January. This month, I'm really working on laying that foundation. So when you think about your goals in 2024 and what purpose they serve in your overall vision for this year and for your life, I want you to think about what is the theme of those goals for you. Is it a big focus on your personal growth this year? Do you have a big focus on career success? Or maybe is your health, or maybe it's a blend of all of those things and maybe more things. I think the important starting point is the clarity, right? Or around that. What type of house are you building? What kind of recipe are you trying to cook? So you can pick again the right ingredients and lay the right foundation, which in both cases it's our habits. And that's where there's this important step that I think January is the perfect month to take, of matching our goals with habits that align to those goals. Let's say that, for example, your goal this year is to focus on your health, to build a healthier lifestyle in the coming year. So maybe if that is your goal, then you're going to look for habits that are relevant to that goal. Maybe it's drinking more water, or exercising more, or eating more veggies, or adding protein in every meal, whatever those are, right? It's just an example. What I'm trying to say here is that there is a science and an art of matching your habits to your goals, and beyond your goals, to your identity, to the person that you want to become in the process of accomplishing those goals, on that better version of you that you're aspiring to become this year. And a lot of times when we are curating the habits that resonate to our aspirations, we get distracted by trends, right? We start to see around us and all these trending habits, and we start to just pick those things that are popular around our circle, right? Whether it's our circle of friends, our circle of acquaintances, our social circles. Social media plays an important role in this. You probably have seen a lot of posts of different people that are talking about the habits they're adopting this year. And there's some habits that are trending, right? That a lot of people are trying to adopt just because is what everyone else is doing. And I want I want to prevent you from falling into that trap. I think we need to be very intentional with the habits that we pick. And whatever habits you end up picking as the ones you want to focus on, they need to speak to you. They need to be aligned to your desires and your goals and your aspirations this year. They need to be personalized to you. And that is very important because it's very easy to get distracted when everyone is telling you the habits you're supposed to adopt. But those people that are talking about all of those things are not you. They're not in your shoes. They're not where you are right now. And you need to choose habits that fit where you are in your own journey right now and that are going to enable you to get where you're going, which might be very different than what other people is doing. I do believe in looking around us and finding role models and finding inspiration in what others are doing, but it should be that, right? Inspiration. For at the end, you curating the habits that resonate with you and your aspirations. Those that are going to enhance your journey and are going to allow you to a year from now look back and feel proud of yourself and feel accomplished for the things that you've done and the way that you've showed up and the energy that you've brought to the year. You know, each habit that you choose to invest on to put as part of that foundation this year is going to contribute a unique essence to the overall experience of 2024. And just like when you're putting together a dish, a recipe, a dish can be ruined if you have in the wrong ingredients. Basically, your routine can be disrupted if your habits are not aligned with your goals. So the first thing is to pick the right habits. And I can't tell you what those are for you. That's something that you need to come up with. And the best tip that I can give you is to really make sure that they are aligned and contributing to lay a foundation for your desires, your aspirations, your goals, the way you want to show up, the energy that you want to bring this year. Now, let's be real. Even if you have clarity around what goals you have and what habits you need to implement, change isn't always a walk in the park, right? What do I mean by this? It's not easy to build habits. It's simple, but it's not easy. And how can we make these habits stick? It's probably the $1 million question. Because I think even before me sharing anything that I've shared so far, you know what are some of the habits that you need to implement this year. But you're probably struggling to really create those habits. We start the year with a lot of energy and inspiration to do a lot of things. But I believe that our inspiration and our motivation at the beginning of the year is like a balloon full of air, but without a nod, where so the air starts to go out and we lose air, we lose momentum as the year goes. That's why I personally believe that January is such a perfect time to establish habits because you can take advantage of all that motivation that you have right now to help you build discipline. And the discipline that you create around your habits is what is going to carry you through even when motivation doesn't show up. Because there are going to be days, many days, that you're going to wake up without the motivation to do the things that you know you must do to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So I've got a mantra for you. Start small. My dad used to say always, Rome wasn't built in one day, and neither are habits. So pick one, just one, and let it settle into your routine. Maybe that one that you start with is your morning routine. I think that one is always a good one to start with because I firmly believe that the way you start your day sets the tone for the rest of the day. So, having a morning routine that is serving you, that is aligned with, once again, your goals, your desires, your aspirations, and the way that you want to show up in the world this year, I think that will be the best foundation that you can set. I've done multiple episodes in the past about morning routines. I've shared my own morning routine, the elements that I've been very intentional about including in my morning routine. In fact, right now, this month, I'm re examining my morning routine. So even if you have one, this might be a good time to reevaluate your morning routine because your goals might change or evolve. Maybe this year, your aspirations are different than they were last year. Maybe this year, your theme, your focus is different than it was when you designed that morning routine that you have. So, checking and ensuring that your morning routine is aligned with your vision for this year, I think it's a great first step to take this month of January to lay that foundation. And regardless of what goes into your morning routine, I think the goal to begin with is to let it become part of your daily rhythm, to get in the rhythm of showing up every morning for your morning routine and lay that foundation. So, once again, the mantra is start small. Pick one, two, maximum three habits that you're going to be focused on in the next few weeks to develop, to implement, to build a discipline around, to really build that habit, right? Not only talk about the habit, but actually implement the habit in your life. And once those become part of your daily rhythm, then start to add more habits. And we can go so deep into how to develop habits. And maybe I'll do some additional episodes around habits if you believe that it's helpful. One thing that I'm doing is I am listening for the sixth time to the Atomic Habits book. Last year, I had the amazing opportunity to be part of a keynote that James Clear did at the company where I work. And I had the amazing opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity to meet one on one with James Clear. This man is a role model for me. Like his book, Atomic Habits, has changed my life. My identity has changed. I'm a completely different person because of this book. So I can't recommend that book enough. And I think one time I brought some friends here on the podcast and we did kind of like a book club conversation around the book. And I'm happy to talk more about Atomic Habits here on the podcast. But if you haven't read that book, I really recommend you to pick that book this month to start your year reading Atomic Habits. I am reading it for the sixth time this year. Why? Because habits is my focus this month. And while now I know exactly the recipe to build habits, I think every time I read that book, and this is the sixth time that I'm reading it, I get something out of it. There is something new that resonates in a different way because I'm in a different place that I was the other five times that I read the book. So I really, really recommend that book. I'm going to put a link to the book on the show notes of the podcast if you want to grab a copy. And I would love to hear what is your biggest takeaway from the book. And if you're not a reader, hey, you can get it in Audible version. That's what I'm doing right now. In the mornings when I go on a walk, I put my headphones and I'm listening to Atomic Habits. So there's always a way, right? So we talk about starting small and starting with a small number of habits, and once they become part of our daily rhythm, move and add more habits. I think there is a little twist here on habits that I want to talk about, and that is that consistency beats intensity when it comes to our habits. It's not about a sprint, it's a marathon. This year is not a sprint, it's a marathon. I mentioned this on the previous podcast episode, but I believe that a lot of times we set goals at the beginning of the year and we overestimate what we can do in the first month of the year, and we underestimate what we can do in the full year. And I told you last week, when you set these annual goals, give yourself the entire year to get to those goals, right? Just because you haven't hit your goals by now, or you're not already halfway through hitting your goals by now, that doesn't mean that you have failed. It's just January. Give yourself the entire year. And when it comes to habits, it's the consistency, not the intensity of the habits, which is going to make a difference in you crossing the finish line of this marathon this year. Your habits are not just a checklist. I love checklists, and I think having a checklist when you're trying to develop habits is a very helpful tool. But habits aren't a checklist. Habits are about building a lifestyle. So don't beat yourself up if you miss a day. If, a lot of times we're trying to develop a habit and we have our checklist and we're tracking our habits, all great ways to develop a habit. But then we miss a day and we beat ourselves up and we give up because we missed a day. Remember, this is about progress and not perfection. It's about consistency and not intensity. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, it's a journey, right? And you're not developing habits just to cross them off a list. You're developing habits to create a lifestyle that supports the life that you want for yourself. Now, here comes another $1 million question. How do you make these habits not just a routine, but part of who you are? Let me repeat that question. How do you make habits not just a routine, but part of who you are? And I think that is such a great question, because at the end of the day, while habits are enablers to achieve our goals, I think our habits serve a much higher purpose. It's about identity-based habits. So instead of saying, my goal this year is to run a marathon or a 5K or a 10K, and I'm using this just as an example, this might not be the goal or a goal that you have for yourself this year. Instead of it, why not thinking my goal this year is to become a runner? There is a higher level to our goals, and that is our identity. And I believe that when we look at our habits, we need to look at our habits as identity-based habits. What are the habits of a person that has that identity? Whatever that identity is that you want to make your own identity. When I said at the beginning, think about your goals, think about how you want to show up in the world this year. Think about who you want to become in the process. What is that better version of you that you want to become or grow into this year? What habits does that higher version of you have? Those are the habits that you want to start to cultivate. Those are the habits that you want to start to prioritize. Can you see the difference? Can you see the difference between goal-based habits and identity-based habits? When I say start small, think about what are those small things that you can do in 2 to 5 minutes that will cast a vote towards the person that you are aspiring to become this year. That can be a great way to prioritize your habits. When you think about that higher version of you that you're working towards becoming this year, what is that version of you doing first thing in the morning? That can be a great question to start to craft and design your own morning routine that we were talking about a minute ago. And of course, let's not forget about the power of habit stacking. This is one of the strategies in the book Atomic Habits that have been so helpful for me. Habit stacking. It's about attaching your new habits to existing ones. So, as you are incorporating some of these habits that you are creating this year and they've becoming part of your daily rhythm, start stacking habits on top of them. Let me give you an example. If you're say, okay, I'm going to start a morning routine and my morning routine is going to be 5 minutes, 5 minutes of setting daily intentions. That is going to be my morning routine. That's where I'm going to start off this year. It's small enough that is realistic and achievable for me. It's something that I can do. And here's the thing, when you start small and you actually build that habit, that is building also not only the habit, but your self confidence that you're able to create these habits. And once that becomes part of your daily rhythm, where you wake up and you don't even have to think about it, you're automatically spending 5 minutes setting intentions for your day or whatever the habit is that you pick. This is just an example. Then you can stack another habit on top of it. So now that I'm on the habit of setting daily intentions, I'm going to stack on top of that some movement. So I'm going to start exercising, maybe for 15 minutes. And I do that immediately after my daily intentions, right? And once I consistently show up and work out for 15 minutes, maybe I stack something else on top of that. Maybe that is a meditation or reading 10 pages of a book or listening to a podcast. And I'm just stacking like one block on top of the other. One habit that I believe can be life-changing for anyone, regardless of what your goals is the habit of gratitude. I believe everyone should have some kind of gratitude practice as part of their daily habits. And I've shared mine many times here before, but for me, every day I write down 5 things that I'm grateful that happened in the last 24 hours. And that is one of my foundational habits. And I've stuck many things on top of that, but I start there. I start my day there. It helps me start my day with a positive attitude, one that is open for joy and for more blessings in my life. So at the end of the day, you need to pick your habits, the ones that are going to lay that foundation for you to have the best year that you can have this year, right? Whether it's adopting the habit of gratitude, or maybe it's a fitness routine, or is reading a couple of pages every day, or spending time in personal development every day, or is it running or calling a friend, whatever the habits are that you are looking to implement in your life, make those habits your allies in your journey this year. That is the key. I want to share with you, before we end today's episode, some of the habits that I am adopting this year, just in case you're looking for some inspiration and Maybe you're stuck and you don't know what to do, what habits could be meaningful to you. I want to give you some ideas. So I'm going to share some of mine. But as I said before, don't pick them. It's not picking a habit from a menu of options, right? You need to curate the habits that align to what you want for yourself this year. So, just sharing for inspiration, and I will love to hear what are some of the habits that you are choosing to implement in your life this year. I will love to hear if you want to share with me on social media, whether it's on Instagram or on Facebook, or you want to send me an email, or you want to send me a voice message here on the podcast. I will love to hear what are some of those habits that you're implementing this year. Now, before I share what my habits are for this year, I want to share something related to it. So, my word of this year is vibrant. So, you'll see that a lot of my habits revolve around my word of the year, my theme of being vibrant and having vibrant energy and bring vibrant energy to everything that I do. So, I've been looking at my current habits and kind of evaluating, are they still serving me or not? Do I need to add new habits? Do I need to change the habits that I have? Or how can I upgrade some of those habits this year? Because the truth is, I already have a lot of habits built into my daily routines, right? So it's a process of constantly evaluating, are there habits that I need to stop? Are there habits that no longer serve me? Are there habits that I want to keep? Are there new habits that I want to implement or habits that I want to upgrade? And one habit that I decided to upgrade this year is my morning coffee. Yes, I love coffee. If you know me, you know that I love coffee. I love coffee for its taste. I can drink decaf coffee. I don't care about the caffeine. What I care is about the taste and really what I'm doing while I'm enjoying that cup of coffee. That is like my me time. But because this year my goal is to have vibrant energy, I was looking at my coffee and I asked myself, how can I elevate this experience? How can I upgrade this habit? So I decided to incorporate a new supplement into my morning routine and specifically on my coffee. I drink my coffee black and unsweetened, and I've started to use a supplement called the Good Stuff. And it's basically a performance coffee supplement that boosts the natural benefits of the coffee and reduces the caffeine jitters. So if caffeine has an impact to you, this can help you, but it has a lot of good stuff on it. So, one scoop of this supplement helps increase your energy. It has some MCT oil in there that boosts your natural energy. It helps reduce inflammation. It helps improve my focus, which is something so important to me. If I want to be vibrant, I need to be able to focus. It promotes healthy skin because it has collagen in it, which is one of the main blocks of our bones and skin and hair and muscles, all things that I want to focus on this year. And it also boosts hydration because it has some Himalayan pink salt that serves as an electrolyte, right, in the coffee. So I started to add this into my coffee and I already can feel the difference. And anyway, I love it so much that I reach out to them and they gave me a promo code for 20%, 25% off to all the listeners of the Leading Yourself podcast. So I'm going to put a link on the show notes of the podcast episode so you can check it out. And if you want to try it and start to feel amazing as you start your day and leverage your beloved coffee, if you're a coffee lover like me, go check it out and get 25% off. So now let me share with you some of the habits that I am implementing this year. Some of these are habits that I already have in place. Some of them are new. Some of them are an upgraded version of the habits that I already had in place. So it's a long list. Again, I'm only adding one new at a time, starting small. But this is my vision of by the end of the year, these are the habits that I am going to have. My future version of me, that better version of me that I'm inspiring to become this year, does all of these things. So, first of all, when it comes to my nutrition, is drinking a glass of water first thing when I wake up. Another habit is to eat veggies most lunches and dinners, making veggies the star of my lunches and my dinners. Another one is to drink at a minimum half of my body weight in ounces of water every day. Actually, right now, I have started the year drinking a gallon of water every day. Is this something that I'm going to keep up for the rest of the year? I don't know yet, but at a minimum, I want to drink at least half of my body weight in ounces of water. Another habit is to consistently take my vitamins and minerals every day. And this year, I want to incorporate the habit of fasting like a girl. I'll be talking more about that. But this one, all of this is to support my word of the year, vibrant, right? I think nutrition is an important component and foundation of me bringing this vibrant energy and feeling this vibrant energy in 2024. When it comes to movement, 4 habits. One is to work out every day as part of my morning routine. Number 2 is to incorporate 10-minute movement after my meals. Number 3 is to get outside for at least 10 minutes to get some sunlight and vitamin D. And number 4 is to use my standing desk daily. I have a height adjustable desk, and last year, I was not consistent in using it and taking full advantage of the fact that I have this amazing desk at home. So, standing more is one of the things that I want to do this year. Then, another pillar for me in achieving vibrant energy is recharging. So, one is my sleep habits. So, sleeping 7 to 8 hours every day, take breaks throughout the day, having a night routine, avoid caffeine after 2 p.m., and quarterly, quote unquote, me Fridays. I'll talk more about that in a future episode. And then finally, mindset. For me, mindset is so critical. Regardless of what is my theme of the year, mindset is always a pillar. And this year, as I'm looking to live a vibrant year, 5 habits around mindset. One, not checking my phone during the first 15 minutes of the day. So, waking up, the first thing that I was doing is checking my phone. So, I'm breaking that back habit and I'm not checking my phone on the first 15 minutes of the day. My daily gratitude practice, this is one that is very well established and I want to keep. Morning meditation. I've been inconsistent with meditation. So I want to gain more consistency and build it as a habit and not as an sporadic practice. Number 4, identifying my 3 non-negotiables of the day. This is something that it's already a habit for me and I want to continue this year. And last but not least, also one thing that I want to continue is to invest 30 minutes in personal development every day. So those are my list of habits for 2024. Again, they are aligned with my theme of this year, which is vibrant. So once again, think about what is that theme that you see for yourself this year? What are those goals that you have this year? Look at that better version of yourself that you are aspiring to become this year, and then pick your habits that align and support that vision that you have for the year. And let's lay that solid foundation for a bright and successful 2024. I hope you found today's episode helpful. I can't wait to hear what are the habits that you're putting on your foundation for this year. And with that, I hope you have an amazing week ahead. And I can't wait to talk to you again next week here on the Leading Yourself podcast.